Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 372 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
On tonight's episode, we'll be talking about 5 new films, all of which you can see from the comfort of your home, and 4 trailers for upcoming potential blockbusters that you'll probably be able to see from the comfort of your home. We're back again. As always, I'm Jason Rugard, here with my man Trevor Anderson. It's good to talk movies with you. It's been too long. We haven't got a chance to really dive deep into the selection of films, and it's been a mixed bag of movies lately. Wouldn't you say? I mean, even the movies that we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's been rough, I guess, but it is the year after the pandemic, so
I kind of look at this like 2009, the year after the writer's strike, when most movies kind of sucked because they were rushed into production or, to avoid the right. Specifically, I'm thinking about G.I. Joe, how rushed that was writing-wise, and even more so, Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers 2. A lot of movies in 2009, even though I kind of like G.I. Joe. And we'll be talking about G.I. Joe spinoff, Snake Eyes, in the trailer section of today's show. Reviews for Without Remorse, Army of the Dead, Wrath of Man, Cosmic Sin, Mortal Kombat, and trailers for Jungle Cruise, The Tomorrow War, Externals, and as the aforementioned...
You mean Eternals?
Snake Eyes. Eternals. What did I say, Externals?
They can be external, too.
Well, I think that a lot of them are externals. I think they're not introverts at this point. I think.
No.
Although, where were they during the Infinity War?
Angelina Jolie's basically skeletonal. I don't know what you would say.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into that one with you. Let's start with some
you
trivia.
should see the other one she's in, but yeah.
And I want to ask you, this is a very interesting trivia question that somebody proposed to me and really stumped me. I thought a pretty good guess because, but I want to see what your guess is going to be here. Do you know who directed the pilot episode of the television series Columbo?
Oh, I have no idea.
Take a shot in the dark.
I'm not going to be able to guess. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Ron Howard.
That's not a bad guess. My guess was John Frankenheimer, who had done a lot of television directing.
Sure.
Actually, it was a little fella named Steven Spielberg.
Oh.
And,
that is true. That is
yes,
right.
Right,
oh,
you know
wow.
this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the minute you say it, it's like, oh, obviously, that's Steven Spielberg History 101. Yeah, wow.
I know, and the weird thing is when
totally
it was
forgot
put to
about
me,
that.
I blocked it out, too. It was like the Mandela effect there, you know what I mean? It's like, did that really happen? And
yeah, right. No, yeah, that is actually good trivia. Shit. 15 years ago, that was trivia that I would have been telling other people.
Yeah, now we're that
Here
age
it is
where
later
you're
on.
gonna bar,
Who
someone's
cares
telling
about
you
Spielberg at this point, right?
The man still got weight, and what he's doing with this new film of his, this semi-autobiographical film with Seth Rogen.
It feels like people don't talk about
is.
film history anymore, though. I can't be the only one.
Yeah, no, you're right. But that's a good trivia question. And do you know that the story is such told by Peter Falk years later was that he told people the first day that this kid's too good to be directing television, he needed to be in films. And that's kind of how Universal pushed him up the ladder so quickly. And I think he did Duel after that, and then Sugarland Express was not even that far after that. So, yeah, great trivia, though. And somebody stumped me on it the other day, and I was so mad at myself. And I'm glad I got the same reaction out of you. It justifies my emotional temperament as well.
Yeah, it is. It's yeah. I did know that. Literally knew that. It's so weird.
I know, right? We just keep forgetting the things we know. Ain't life grand? Let's talk about movies. A couple of these I would like to forget. I want to start off with really the one that I've seen the most recently because it's the most in my mind.
I almost thought you were going to say the one he saw the most.
Well, let's talk about that too. It's called Cosmic Sin. This must be the umpteenth direct-to-DVD, direct-to-video Bruce Willis film. Once again, he's teaming up with Frank Grillo. They did a film called Reprisal a couple years back that I'm sure not many people saw either, which wasn't very good. And this one is... I'm tempted to give this one a pass. Not a recommendation, but a pass, because...
First half, maybe.
I didn't mind the first half. I liked what was going on outside of how stiff and odd Bruce Willis is in his movies.
I mean, I agree with you. This is the movie when it first started and they had those first couple opening scenes. I thought, oh, this might actually pan out to be pretty good. And it's a movie that progressively, I can't say it gets worse. It just kind of doesn't get
less interesting.
It just doesn't get any better. Yeah, it just doesn't add. Like nothing gets added. Bruce Willis and Frank Grillo are both barely in it. They're both barely in it.
Willis is in it more than I thought
Sad.
he'd be, and he's in it more than Grillo is.
I know. I'm pretty sure he is actually.
But what is going on with Willis's line readings here? I don't know if he's slurring his speech, if he was drunk when he did this, but he seemed particularly off in this. And I don't mean in his usual lazy manner of looking away from the camera, doing things that aren't in character, or just basically being kind of aloof, which is what he seemed to be in things like Hard Kill and Breach and some other things recently. But this, he seemed particularly odd. But I did like the costume design. I did like the set design. I thought there was some production value in this. And you know who I thought really was trying? Was Costas Mandylor, who plays the kind of the lead Green Beret guy with the beard. He's been a long time B movie actor. He was trying in this movie, and he had a couple good scenes with Grillo. I thought that they like, okay, this is the movie they should have focused on, not getting Willis in there so they could sell it to a foreign market. And how much financial viability does Willis and Nicolas Cage still have after what they're doing to their careers with these movies? I mean, really, does their picture on a box really sell it? Then again, I'm answering my own question because I watched it and so did you. So,
yeah, well, being a genre, pictures help a lot as well. This much like Breach. This is a sci-fi movie. It's an alien movie. They go off to fight aliens in kind of an Independence Day type situation, but it's
similar,
futuristic. So it's just straight sci-fi, unlike Independence Day, which has grounded at some level. This movie doesn't need that, and ergo you can shoot scenes all over the place, and also, luckily for you, then you don't need your A-list talent there all the time.
Right.
You can rely on the B-list guys, which, as you mentioned, these guys, the acting's actually pretty good in this. I think
Lachlan
really
Monroe
across
is
the board.
In this
I think
from
they're
Dead Man on Campus. He's fantastic in the very beginning. I hate to say his character gets killed off. He was good.
Pretty good. I know that's why the beginning kind of throws you off a little bit because you think, oh, this might actually be something. It just doesn't progress in anything interesting. It does have a pretty strong opening as well. It sets the premise straight up right away, and it's shot nicely. You can tell that there's a budget behind it. You can tell that someone took some time to
design it.
Yeah, just to actually shoot it. Like they just aren't capturing something or throwing it up there on the screen, so to speak. Someone actually kind of plotted through this. But yeah, overall, I think the science fiction aspects of this just weigh it down too much, and it's not even, how long is this? It's not really that long.
It's about an hour and 22 minutes.
Is that what it is? Because it really does feel like it's about an hour 45. It feels like it does feel long. 20 minutes cut out of it, which would only put it at about an hour. So
that also
but
goes.
That's how it feels.
In saying that, I felt like this was basically a kind of a mediocre version of a Stargate episode, and they even have a Stargate in this thing.
I know they do.
So I mean, that's what really brought home the point for me.
But that's what this movie does, make that kind of mistake of introducing the world and the characters and everything, and then continually introducing new things to you, and so it eats up a bunch of time with people. Setting up what the hell is about to happen, like with the Stargate thing. And it's just like, it doesn't matter if the Stargate was there or if that was there or not. It wouldn't add anything or take anything away from the movie. It was just a time waster.
All it really does to me is reinforce the fact that Frank Grillo is the man, and he is just great on screen. It's just nice to see the guy on screen when he's doing his thing. He's not very wisely used here. Bruce Willis is not trying at all anymore. I mean, that's known, but his scenes aren't nearly as awkward as they are in other movies he's been in lately. And I did like the suits that reminded me of Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat, the Tom Cruise film, depending on what country you're in. There's different names for that movie.
They just did that boss fight movie together too, didn't they?
That was Mel Gibson.
Was that Mel Gibson?
Yeah,
Why do I keep thinking Mel Gibson is Bruce Willis in the movies?
No, Mel Gibson's still trying. There's a difference.
No, he is. That's why I was trying to place that whole thing, because he actually walks around and does some stuff. But you're right, that's Mel Gibson. I've done that recently, too, with Mel Gibson, thinking it was Bruce Willis. I don't know why. Maybe because Bruce Willis used to do things. I'd like to see a movie right now, Bruce Willis and Steven Seagal, and there's a final showdown between them, but they never get up. Right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
They would just stare at each other across like a big long
They're
table.
so good. Like if they had guns or shooting at each other, they'd be able to like dodge just by like moving their heads. They'd just be like dodging bullets and shit. It'd be impossible to kill each other. I don't even know what that would be like.
I just wonder, if you get the financing to get Grillo, to get Willis, you got them on set. Why not put them together? Why not do something? Why not? I get what they're doing and their strengths of it. They probably have Bruce Willis for a maximum of 3 days, and they got to shoot everything, and he's probably an absolute pain in the ass to deal with the entire time, and he's going to do things his way. But when you got other people who are trying, it just seems like he'd want to raise his game, because he wasn't like this in Motherless Brooklyn. He actually put a performance on it.
No, that's film. A real movie with a real Bruce Willis performance.
Yeah, so he's capable of it still. It's just, it's almost like an arrogance to it, and it's it's like if you were watching an athlete who hated the sport he's participating in, or a fighter who's doing it just to cash a check, whose heart isn't in it. It's just, but then they still have 1 or 2 great performances left in them. And there's a lot of talk in Nicolas Cage's next 2 films, something called Pig, and then the unbearable weight of massive talent. I believe this could be Oscar bait. So these guys still have
both those
these
movies
performances
sound really
in
good
them
too. And I'll say, you can say this about Cage. He's at least doing interesting movies. Bruce Willis is just in shit.
But isn't it weird that Bruce Willis is not necessarily an action hero? He did action films, but he's mostly a dramatic actor. He didn't come on the scene as a
comedian. Comedic actor, really, if you go back
comedy,
to it.
A light romantic comedy actor,
Yeah, and he's good in all that stuff. I think that's why the action stuff worked really well for him, as well as because playing up the comedic aspect of the coolness of the not caring in certain situations, right, where bullets are flying and you're cracking jokes, right? It's a cool thing to do, so it works.
I think
but
the best
where is
movies
that? That's not in this movie anywhere.
In the last 20 years, you take out Die Hard 4, which I think is an absolute gem, and I'll even say that over Die Hard 5, I'd choose 16 Blocks.
Oh yeah, I like 16 Blocks.
Great performance by Willis and a great little overlooked Bruce Willis movie. And I'll say Once Upon a Time in Venice, I actually kind of liked and I thought was amongst the best of these direct-to-video movies he's done. And he's even got this arrogant kind of attitude in the Expendables movies, where I think he brings the fun level down a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. Surprisingly, I think you're right. But yeah, for this movie, Cosmic Sin, for Breach, for so many more, these are just forgettable movies. Like you couldn't even list these really as Bruce Willis canon. Like they don't add anything to the Bruce Willis name, as you said. They don't make you like Bruce Willis. They don't really make you hate him either. It's almost as if they're fluff. They don't exist.
And the sad part about it is I still get excited when I see the box of one of these, and I'll still watch it, because of the memories of those other films.
I'm still watching Steven Seagal movies, man.
Ain't that a shame? I am too. Wesley Snipes, the same thing. Yeah, any of these guys. I mean, shit, a brand new Van Damme movie, although those are getting rougher and rougher.
Yeah, those have been rough for quite some time.
Too. And I say that as watching a lot of Seagal films, but Bruno here struck out once again, and let's move on. Let's talk about Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. This was supposed to be a theatrical release in the beginning of the year through Paramount Pictures, who has sold off most of their slate before they launched Paramount Plus to Prime. Coming to America was the first film, and now Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. I was really surprised when this was going to come out on that streaming service, but after having seen it, I think I did read this book.
And this is like a 92, 93 book?
Yeah, somewhere in that range, yeah.
So, and you had made mention of, and I had to look this up actually, before I watched the movie. I actually read because I haven't read the book, but I read the synopsis of the book, because you said, I'm sure things will have to change, as far as time-wise goes, to make this a relevant movie, and you're right. And I think that the book, it sounds way more awesome than what they made this movie.
The book has nothing to do with anything with the book. The only thing that we have the same is that he's a veteran. He's out for revenge, and
right. So his wife gets. This is a pretty simple movie. Wife gets murdered, goes to get killers.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's the whole movie. Don't expect anything more out of this, because you're not going to get it.
This movie is structured so awfully that the climax happens in a shootout that takes place in this hotel that goes on for so long, past the point of interest, and then the movie ends on such a quiet, downbeat note that it almost feels like it's a cop-out or can't possibly be the real ending. So there's so much implausibility, and it's an action movie, so I understand that.
Because as with all of these movies, this is set up for sequels, right? This is the Bourne Identity-itis, right? Isn't that not what this is? This is what was the Tom Cruise one?
The Reachers.
Yes, thank you. The Jack Reachers, which I actually really liked, but that's exactly what they're setting up for. Yeah, well, by far, but that's what this is, right?
Didn't you think this was subpar in every level? Even the acting was bad.
100%. I even thought, strike me down for saying it, but I even thought Michael B. Jordan was weak in this.
He was miscast. This is not his role. A great
I agree
physique,
with that.
Magnetic actor.
Miscast.
This is not his role. He's doing something that's very dangerous right now. And I'm the guy who said he's the most charismatic actor of his generation. He's the star. He's the one who's going to carry it.
He's not likable in this movie, right?
He's doing the pouting thing. He's doing what he did in Creed. Yes. He's petulant. You got to get away from the petulant character who can't be told nothing.
Can get away with this. I think Denzel Washington could make a movie like this and can do that and play it very seriously, and it still works perfectly. And you really will like him in the role and in the movie. But with someone like Michael B. Jordan, you're right. Without that electric smile, without that little bit of cockiness,
there's nothing in this movie.
It just doesn't work.
And I mean, it's stunt casting all along. I thought nobody was well cast in this movie. I didn't particularly like it. I thought Jamie Bell maybe as his possibly duplicitous superior officer.
Oh yeah, I mean, and tell me, just by casting choice alone, when Guy Pearce shows up, you're like, is that the bad guy? Oh, big surprise.
I love Guy Pearce. I think he's underrated, particularly Lockout is fun, but it's. No, come on,
twists and shit in it, and Guy Pearce pops up, and you're like, well, obviously, and the way that he acts and everything, and his role in the movie, you're like, oh, well, that's the bad guy.
Okay, let me tell you something. The book is about this veteran who is on this Bohemian island and picks up this girl who's a streetwalker, has sex with her, and she overdoses and is killed by her pimp, and he gets chlamydia from her and tries to avenge her. I mean, it's a bizarre book. Tom Clancy is not a great writer.
It's a
bizarre
more awesome than this
book
movie.
On top of it. It's very Rambo-esque, and he starts stalking these guys, and there's a little bit of that in the very beginning when he goes after his first prey. But once he gets in the burning vehicle and holds a gun on a man, I just thought this movie is so fucking outlandish right now. Like we're in La La Land. There's nothing, and it's particularly disappointing because it was written. The screenplay was adapted by Tyler Sheridan of Hell and High Water fame and Yellowstone, and it's just this movie is a misfire on so many levels that I was kind of dumbfounded that it got through. That it made it to the screen in the shape that it was in, because I thought it was shapeless. I thought it was very dull, and I just thought the whole enterprise was misguided.
Yeah, but you do kind of see a trend in these movies that get bought up, or at least the availability of movies that are bought up for streaming rights right off the bat, right? You kind of see, I kind of can guess why this movie was available for you to purchase, to put on your streaming site right away.
Let me proposition it like this, too, because this is what I think about when I'm watching these. The things I would have been in a theater, because I'm such a movie lover, and they would have sold me on the trailer. I would have been in a theater. I would have been bored out of my fucking mind. I kept looking at the timer bar on this and going, how are we only 47 minutes into this? How am I this bored with this story already? And I went into this wanting to like this. I didn't go into this with a negative mindset. I don't want you to think that I had something out against anybody. I am a Michael B. Jordan fan. I like Tom Clancy's stuff. This is subpar. This is the worst Tom Clancy adaptation I've ever seen, including that terrible television show they did. Remember that in the 90s? It was like fucking some early internet days TV. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a CSI type show. Look it up. People out there listening, check it out. There was a television show. It was awful. This is worse. This is worse than the Chris Pine one that everybody hated. Remember that?
Oh,
Jack Ryan
by
thing?
far, yes.
At least that had some sort of filmmaking technique and skill. And whoever's directing this, did you not feel that it peaked way too early? I mean, what was the prison fight sequence? Was that that's a whole ripoff from The Hurricane. Talk about Denzel Washington. There's a sequence in The Hurricane when he's in his jail cell preparing for battle. That's done well in a movie that has dramatic impact. Here, it's just it's stupid. It's like something out of the 80s, and not in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. I think you rounded it up. This was the director of Sicario 2. I think it was the biggest thing he did. He also did that ACAB movie.
Well, Sicario 2
which
was
is a long time ago, but
it wasn't as good as Sicario 1. But that at least
yeah, but
showed.
you're talking. I mean, these are very similar type movies. I don't think it takes much to direct a Tom Clancy, type film. Everything's very stark and kind of straight lines and everything. I just don't think it's that difficult to do this. And you don't really have to put an imprint of your directorial style into it, is what I should say.
That's true. I mean, if I said that Cosmic Sin reminded me of an episode of Stargate, this could have been an episode of Jag.
Yes, exactly.
This on
basically.
That level. Okay, let's move on and talk about Wrath of Man. Guy Ritchie's second film in a row that I've been a huge fan of. This has become a new trend for me because I actually have a sneaking affection for King Arthur. And
first movie you saw in theaters?
This was the first movie that I saw in theaters since Jumanji, the sequel, back in late 2019. That's what I was going to say,
because this was my first foray back into theaters again, and god damn, am I glad it was this movie.
Welcome back, baby.
Holy shit, this movie's awesome.
I'm kind of glad you saw this in theaters, too, because I couldn't, once again, I'm watching this thing and I'm thinking, am I overwhelmed by this? Because one, I saw it on an afternoon day when it was just me in the movie theater. It was basically a private screening.
This is a theatrical movie.
And two, is it because I was so happy to be back at the movies that I was thinking it was better than it was? And then you said you had the same reaction. I thought,
oh my god, though, man. The action in this fucking movie, though, is like old school action. Like, Guy Ritchie has done it again, man. This feels like a fucking movie that's 15 years ago.
This is not, though. This is not your mechanic or that kind of Jason Statham franchise.
This is balls to the wall, and it's fucked up. This movie's all over the place, by the way.
He's not even dark film.
They don't even take his character and make his character the main character throughout the whole movie. They throw you off into a different movie through a lot of it, and they'll throw you back and forth between these two things. I don't want to give anything away, but they do it. They take him out of the movie for quite a while, and even at the end showdown, when shit goes down, they again remove him from that, and they let the other movie play out before he gets, which I thought was kind of a little too on the nose. He kind of just, I guess wraps it up real neatly there at the end, which is a little like, oh, okay, we didn't really try too hard there, but it is weird and interesting to see a movie play out with title cards for chapters and have it be all over the place and more than one movie, but all in the same world and all intertwined and stuff. So really good. I think not as good as what was the one before?
The Gentleman.
Oh God, thank you. The Gentleman.
Gentleman's a classic.
Which is, that movie's just freaking fantastically written, great movie. Like that's the A+ movie. This I think would be more of like an A- type movie, but still just. If you're wondering about going back to the theaters and this is playing in your area, go see it because the sound is great, the action's great. Emotionally, I thought it was good. And, Jason Statham is a fucking badass, man. Is he not? I mean, that dude, we talk about the end of the action hero all the time, but here's Jason Statham. I'm watching this movie and like, this dude's an action star.
What's funny is he can give a look in. It's something like the Fast and Furious, and it's almost comical or it's campy. He does the same look given the right direction in the right scenario, and it's like it's chilling. It's coming next. It says a lot, just a cock of the head. And people used to compare him to the poor man's Bruce Willis. He's doing things now that are going to put his career in a much better position later on than Willis is in. He's come into his own in a lot of ways, and I thought this was some real leading man shit here. You see this, you're like, that's the guy. Yeah. That's the motherfucker right there. And I thought
it's like a rebirth in a way.
I thought it had a lot to do, or a lot of similarities with The Limey. Remember The Limey years ago with Steven Soderbergh?
Because The Limey.
It is artsy. There are moments in here where it goes for the artistic touch and the more modern, but it's thematically dark. There are some real dark deviations here, particularly when they go after somebody who's doing some child pornography stuff, and that's not even part of really anything.
You can't even set that stuff up. You gotta let people experience this movie because it's unbelievable. Because the setup of what you think this movie is not what this movie is.
Not what it is. Man. Yeah,
there's so much to this. It's unbelievable. You say it reminds me of The Limey. Do you remember the one with James Bond? What was the UK one with James Bond? Where he was making drugs and stuff. God, I can't remember anything today.
Oh, you're talking about with Pierce Brosnan?
No. With current James Bond.
Oh, Daniel Craig. You're talking about Layer Cake.
Thank you, Layer Cake. It reminds me a lot of Layer Cake as far as
yeah,
all the random type shit that's in it, you know.
Yeah, because everybody's a character in it, and it's not Guy Ritchie like you think. It's not a lot of joking. There are some moments of humor in here, but that's just to kind of give some
the new Guy
Ritchie
Ritchie is awesome. I don't know where this Guy Ritchie has been at. I've hated Guy Ritchie movies forever. Just everything's rubbed me the wrong way. And here's 2 movies. Nothing's rubbed me the wrong way. He's rubbing me the right way.
And not only that, the 2 films that couldn't be further apart tonally. These are absolute different films. To
some degree. I mean, they're both pretty dark.
They are, but I mean, there's a lot more joking. I mean, the costumes,
The Gentleman's
gentleman
definitely is more of a...
It's got a lighter
comedic
touch in a lot of ways. Yeah. But yeah, I was really, really impressed by this film. I can't recommend it enough. And I just think that when you get out there and see something like this, and you just go, this is why I go to the movies. This is the kind of experience I wanted. I came out of it, I was invigorated. But I will say this, the negative comments that I have heard from people, it's that they're expecting a more traditional action film. And I say that if you want that film, go see Den of Thieves. That's the movie you're looking for in that case. This is the artistic version of Den of Thieves.
Maybe. I think Den of Thieves is a lesser movie than this.
I do too, but I think that's where people are a more visceral kind of...
It's not a thinker at all. This movie's more of a throws you around. You got to kind of
keep track of things. You got to keep the days,
keep track of even what he is and who he is at the time, because that changes throughout the movie.
Yeah, and I love when the wife, comes in and tells him off, and I love that scene. You just get, the whole thing.
I just like seeing. There are certain times when you see directors and you think, and this is, I don't know, for me this is a weird thing, but I guess ever since Nolan, really, I like to think of like what would be a good director for the next Batman movie, and Guy Ritchie. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, at this point, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the mastery of tone, production design, all that kind of stuff. And I'd say go back and rewatch King Arthur. I still think that's underrated. I really do.
I didn't like it.
I know you didn't. I know, but I'm trying to get you to go back and look at it.
I don't like
it. Well, at least we got a positive review on here so far. Let's move on and talk about the #1 film in the world. No, not Fast 9. We're talking about Army of the Dead, which apparently has reaching upwards of 80 million homes. So you most likely have seen this film or have seen a portion of this film on Netflix. This is starring Dave Bautista, Zack Snyder's film. A lot of publicity surrounding the release of this movie, and it's long at 2.5 hours. But I'm not the biggest vampire person or zombie person or any of that kind of shit.
Well, actually,
but I loved Dawn of the Dead. I saw Dawn of the Dead with you years ago in a theater.
Oh, the Snyder Dawn of the Dead's amazing.
Yeah, it's excellent. And this isn't on that level, but I do confess to having had a good time when I watched this movie.
Some fun? Yeah, there's lots of fun in this movie.
The influences are all over, but from Ocean's 11 to the Fast and Furious franchise, nods to Aliens, Independence Day. I mean, the music is he started to annoy me with those contemporary cuts of old classics, the wartime classics that you would normally hear in the Vietnam era films.
They've been doing that a lot, though.
They have, but I thought that overall the story was fairly simplistic and not really necessary for that kind of running time. Yeah, it's true.
I agree with you, but they're trying to play this up as a big Hollywood movie, and how you do that now is that you make them 2.5 hours long, and
you're right.
If they're less than that, then I don't know. I guess the studio didn't have faith in it. I don't know what you'd say to that, but yeah, I agree with you. But it's a zombie movie, so it's super simple, right? They're zombies. That's the movie, and they do a lot of neat things in this. It's been done before, and I've seen a lot of reviews on this. People are like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!" and how they do this is so cool, and everything. It's like, oh my God, have you not seen a zombie movie in the past 20 years?
Right.
All this has been done before. This is not new. In fact, I believe I ruined this movie a little bit for myself by watching Peninsula not too long ago, which is literally a South Korean zombie movie. That's the same thing. It's literally the same movie, and better, actually, a better movie. It's a zombie heist movie, just exactly like this. It's the sequel to Train to Busan, for anyone who hasn't seen that, which Train to Busan might be one of both those. Watch those before you watch this, and heap a bunch of praise on this. This is this is the light show. This is the big fireworks, I guess. But those movies are really good. Like I'll be revisiting those movies at some point in the future. This, I will probably never watch this again, which speaks something to it, because like you say, I own the Snyder Dawn of the Dead. I really love it, and I've watched it several times.
And I think Snyder is not the problem with this movie. I just think it's a little bit bloated for what the story
Hollywood
contains.
Movie. It's a Hollywood picture at this point, and I have to admit I'm fairly bored with this. Even though this was fun, it was a fun watch. Watch this movie, by all means.
So you're recommending it then?
I do recommend it, but it's also a streaming movie on Netflix. What's the risk?
Yeah, I know. But would you have seen this in the theater, and would you have thought that this was worth your money and time?
I would not have watched this in the theater because I saw the trailers and I thought, I'll wait, and especially because of the zombie stuff, and it didn't look that good. I mean, really, I liked Suicide Squad, the Ayer Suicide Squad. I liked a lot, but seeing this and it looking a lot like that, I just thought, there's no way this is going to be all that great, right? And it's not.
I thought. I didn't expect much going into it, and it takes a while to get going. I do like Dave Bautista, but I think he's kind of limited as a leading action man, much like John Cena. They don't have the charisma of Dwayne Johnson. They just don't. I mean, I like them both good enough, but they're not magnetic enough to hold your attention for this long on screen. But the movie did entertain me to a level that I do recommend it. I won't be revisiting it anytime soon, but for what it is, I especially like the little quirks in it. There was a scene where they all assembled very Fast and Furious style, where they told everybody the plan, and then one guy's buddy just said, "I'm fucking out of here," got in his car and took off. And I laughed. I liked that. That was somebody having a joke with the whole situation and knowing how ridiculous it was. So the nods to knowing how stupid it was. I didn't mind Tig Notaro, who replaced CruiseThe as the helicopter pilot. There are some odd shots where she seems to be shoehorned in and not particularly talking in the same eye line as somebody else, or they just seems some oddities in there. But I think overall it wasn't a distraction. It was good enough to watch. It reminded me of a summer blockbuster.
I didn't think she was funny.
No, I thought a couple of her lines were okay.
I mean, I'm really just, I don't know. She has a very weak presence, in my opinion, although she's fine in Discovery, but I don't know. She's mousy and meek, I guess would be a way to describe her. I don't know. I didn't buy something where Krista would have been more uppity, more up in the face. He would have been. I don't know. I feel like those lines delivered by him would have been better.
Absolutely. You could have put Jennifer Lawrence or Brie Larson in there, and it would have been a powerhouse. That you know what I mean. They'd have been fucking cutting in that situation. So they could have really done some stunt casting if they wanted to. I'm not sure why they opted for her, but it is what it is. So I guess we both recommend it, but with I guess I'm a little bit more high on it than you would be at that point. Let's move on and talk about Mortal Kombat. This was one of the big releases by HBO Max that was released directly to the streaming service and to the theater simultaneously. It had a big opening weekend and then fell off quickly, overcome by Demon Slayer at the box office, which was the anime film that became, the second highest grossing anime film of all time at the current domestic box office.
Was playing everywhere.
Mortal Kombat I felt overshadowed by that, and I was really excited to watch this movie. And, much like you just said about Army of the Dead, I've seen a lot of these kind of films, and everybody was telling me how this is groundbreaking. And have you not seen a Hong Kong action film? Have you not seen any B movies that have been made or anything? This is so standard, run of the mill. I fell asleep and had to rewatch this.
Did the writers and directors and producers of this movie not watch one of those? Because this is a joke, right? I was appalled by this movie.
It reminded me of 47 Ronin. Do you remember that really misguided Keanu Reeves
movie? Mm-hmm.
Where they spent a lot of money? This is so odd to me that they couldn't get this right. They had this property. They've done low-budget YouTube
there's
knockoffs
no Mortal
that it
Kombat
got
in
right.
This movie. There's no Kumite. Like, where's the fucking fight? And they're like, oh, it's coming. Just wait for the next one. Like, well, how many do I got to watch before I get the showdown here?
They miscalculated this from the jump. Why do we have a lead character? I like Louis Tan, the actor, who plays the lead character of Cole Young, but why is he our lead character? Why? And then it's about Sub-Zero's, father and all this long-time rivalry, and it's done. Dad. And it's done so badly and so dully.
Yeah,
I was like, I was really surprised at how bad this movie was. And then I thought, well, maybe I started it too late at night and I was a little bit tired. Maybe I just kind of was being grumpy. I started it up again. 15 minutes into it, I'm bored again. And I'm like, no, I had a good assessment of this the first time. And I didn't think it was particularly well shot for an action film. I thought that the fight between Goro and Cole Young was laughably bad. With the special effects, I just thought that the first Mortal Kombat had a charm to it. It's not great entertainment, but it has a certain charm and an excitement and a level of just coolness that this movie thought it had just by having the name Mortal Kombat and did nothing after that. And how lazy is this movie?
There's fan service in this movie. But to me, it's a joke. It's like, oh, this person is like this and then that, and like. This character is this character. You're like, okay, that's not really fan service. Like, I'm not even like a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and I'm following all this. Like, I know exactly who's okay. That guy's going to be this. He's going to get his arms ripped off. Okay, and they're going to put metal ones on. Like, I get it. I see all that. But is that the best we can do?
You're ahead of the film. You're the number one sin of filmmaking. Don't let the audience get ahead of the writing. At that point, you're knowing this is going to happen, and you're waiting for it to happen. I was watching for this preordained shit to keep happening, and I just kept thinking, what am I waiting for here? Like, the only person that seemed to be alive in the film was the guy playing Kano. I mean, that's the only... And then when he gets finally off, you're like, well, shit, there goes the only entertaining thing in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, when they took him and made him go bad, a total bad guy and everything, I was like, well, this isn't interesting anymore. I don't want to hang out with these other guys.
Right. No, the same thing.
I want to hang out with him. I mean, really, the movie was fine to some degree until they got to the palace thing, about halfway through. Once they got there, I was like, oh, they're
stuck.
never leaving here. I'm like, this is terrible.
Stuck.
This is not going to work. And
it's bad
sure
writing.
as shit, it didn't. At this point, I just want you to admit that Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li is better than Mortal Kombat 2021.
Oh, wow. I don't... You know what the thing is? I can't really say you're wrong, but to say that you're right is so painful because I've sat through the Chun-Li movie a couple times. I don't think I'd ever watch Mortal Kombat again. This is another situation, though, once again, where I'm sitting there going, I would have paid to see this in the theater. Would I be happy that I'm sitting here? I'd have slept through this fucking movie.
I would have hated it. Yeah, I would.
And I love Mortal Kombat. I love martial arts films. Mm-hmm. I wanted to like this with every fiber in myself. This came out my birthday weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
thought this was a present to myself. This was
I was
terrible.
Excited.
Fucking terrible. And this is the reason, they can't say with HBO Max and that people are, the theater capacities and people aren't going back because they can watch it at home. They shouldn't have to pay top dollar for this. This should be released on HBO, this kind of product. Without Remorse, Army of the Dead, Cosmic Sin, Mortal Kombat, these are meant for the home viewing experience. These aren't meant for the big screen because they're not thought out well enough. They're not executed well enough.
Except
These aren't Wrath of
they
Man.
are meant for the big screen. Isn't that the fucked up thing?
That's how vacant the whole thing is. And really, when you watch something like Mortal Kombat, it's all I saw on that was producer notes.
This is how bad. And we're going to talk about this as well in the trailers here because I think that someone else is going to fall from their high throne here. But yeah. I'm telling you, this is what happens when you allow business to overtake art, and it's this is the current situation we have with the film industry right now, where the people making the decisions are not artistic people, and this shit's not good.
Well, that's really not changed since the 1980s, and we're big fans of the 90s.
That's not true. I can go back to those decades, and I can name directors. I can name actors. Right now, it just doesn't matter. Even go Chris Evans is no one without Marvel. Put him in another movie. No one's going to give a shit. Honestly.
No, that's true. Even Chris Hemsworth, he's proven that he can't really carry a movie outside of
So I don't know what to say about any of this other than Hollywood needs to start overpaying writers again. Maybe we need the 90s back where writers made $4 million for a movie.
Yeah, really. Yeah, get your Joel Esterhaases and what's his
Shane Black.
Shane Black. Yeah. However, they are brazen enough to think, Warner Brothers that is, that this is going to be a sequel, a trilogy situation. I mean, they're teasing Johnny Cage, online chatter, this person wants that person wants this person. Yeah. I don't give a shit who they get. Johnny Cage is my favorite character in the game. I don't give a shit who they get because I'm not interested in visiting this world again. There's nothing that they set up that I revert back to the
Will
story.
you watch the other ones when they are released on streaming?
For sure.
Yeah,
and I'll be upset just like I am.
And herein lies the problem with streaming, right? Is that you paid for it by the month, they're going to deliver it to you, and you're going to watch it, no matter how bad it is. So, I don't know. How bad does it have to get before we actually turn it off?
Pretty bad, especially if it's free. It's piped in, right?
So just, that's your future. That's what's in our future.
I remember watching years ago a Ebert and Roper episode where Roper hated those Scooby-Doo movies, and he's like, you guys stop going and seeing these because I don't want to keep I keep reviewing these because they keep fucking making them because you guys keep seeing them. But the idea that they're going to make 3 movies with this, I always revert back to that conversation we heard when we were in film school where somebody pitched an idea and it was a half-baked idea, and the instructor said, well, that you don't really have a story here. And he said, no, it's a trilogy. And the instructor said, you don't have enough for one story, let alone 3 movies. It's like you don't have even fucking plot points for this one story you have here. And
we can all blame Peter Jackson for that.
I mean, honestly, that's you can't just say Peter Jackson because that era we also had The Matrix was doing that.
Of course, I mean Spider-Man movies and everything, but there would have been more of all that. But I agree with you. But that was all that in particular case, and in many cases, there was directly from Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yes. All right, let's move on and talk about the trailers on today's shows. We'll start off with The Tomorrow War. This is coming out July 2nd on Prime. This is Chris Pratt's next kind of action film here, and I like this trailer. I'm curious to see what this is. I think that this is kind of up my alley. If best case scenario, this could be a throwback to some fun, cheesy 90s summer blockbuster entertainment. I'm a little concerned that it's 2 hours and 25 minutes on the running time, but that just seems to be the case now. It'd be nice if, we're talking about Hollywood and the way they do structures, and everybody knows the structure of a screenplay. Wouldn't it be nice if they just cut out 40 minutes of the writing? Because we know that this turn is going to lead nowhere because it's, we know how the structure works so well. You could walk into these movies, you could just turn it on and go, oh, we're at this part of the movie because this is what's going on, and having never seen it. But regardless, this trailer looks clever enough that I am intrigued. It looked like a little World War Z action mixed with some Edge of Tomorrow, mixed with Tomorrow When the War Began. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Tomorrow When the War Begins, kind of like that as well.
I was going to say, which is interesting because the title for all that shit rolls into this. So this is another cookie cutter movie, and I would normally complain about this, but this actually looks watchable. And I think Chris Pratt brings a lot to that, and I also think Chris McKay might bring a little bit to that as well. I'm in love with Yvonne Strahovski, J.K. Simmons, and Chris Pratt. Yeah, so this is a solid cast. It looks like it's shot really well. Like you say, Edge of Tomorrow. When you say that, I mean, literally, there appears to be some sort of a time thing in this at some point, but it literally has that feeling of fun and seriousness that Edge of Tomorrow had that makes you, I don't know, like elated, to watch it in some degree. I don't know. Like a fun sci-fi movie, but it's serious. Independence Day type stuff,
Totally.
So yes, I'm good to watch this. I'm afraid that it's not going to be any good.
Oh yeah,
I am.
It's going to be a streaming situation. We're all going to see it anyways. It's coming out on the July 4th weekend.
I mean, it's very slick. Everything's so cool nowadays and so slick, and it's just the same thing. The music and all these trailers, all these movies look the same. It doesn't even matter what genre it is; they all look the same. Everyone wants to be the slickest movie. No, don't worry about the thinking. There won't be any involved in this movie.
Yeah, we'll do all the heavy lifting for you.
Okay.
It does look fun, though, and this is the kind of thing that I associate with the summertime blockbuster, kind of like Army of the Dead earlier. This is more so with that big July 4th weekend release.
It looks a lot like Army of the Dead. So yeah. I mean, you're guaranteed to at least have some fun.
And over this running time, they're clearly spending a lot of money and throwing a lot on the screen. So,
right. Well, it's not a movie. It's not a movie unless it's 2.5 hours long.
God, can I get my clean 99 minutes? Remember that 99
we don't
minutes?
do 90-minute movies anymore. Those are the ones that nobody likes.
I like the movie Venom because it's 90-something minutes long. That movie gets in and gets it done. It doesn't need to be any
longer.
No, thank you.
Could you imagine that movie's 2.5 hours long? Oh,
I'm sure Ruben Fleischer somewhere is like, I have a 3.5 hour cut. Like, save the shit. 90 minutes is perfect for this movie. In fact, I prefer 90 minutes cuts to be shorter.
90 minutes is perfect for 99% of movies.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's talk about Jungle Cruise, Dwayne Johnson's long-delayed film that is Disney's. I don't know. Was there a tentpole release going to be this summer? That was kind of the idea. That this would be the live
Pirates
action
of the Caribbean movie.
That's what they're going for from the feel of this.
Like
and
fun.
you know,
the
some
Mummy,
of this,
Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like, all right, I could watch this. Looks like a lot of fun, and I like the actors and everything, but it does just feel like another Hollywood movie.
This kid lands somewhere between The Lone Ranger and Pirates of the Caribbean. And I like both those movies, but one was a big hit and one was a misfire. I don't know how big of a hit this is going to be. I don't know. It's straddling the line of entertaining an adult audience and not making it too dark.
Stuff, I mean, don't undercount The Rock here and what he's built up for himself.
I think this will be a great reference point.
I don't think this will be a failure. I don't think it even has a chance of being a failure. I'd be surprised if it was a failure. But how high can it go? I don't know.
Do you think it's going to be a franchise starter? Because that was the intention.
It could easily be. Yeah, I mean, it looks like fun. It looks like I think families would go watch this. I think parents would have a lot of fun. I think the kids would have a lot of fun. Like I say, look at the Jumanji movies. Look at look at the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Look at the Mummy movies. That's exactly what this looks like. So, I expect to see Jungle Cruise 2 in 3 to 4 years.
And I'm a big fan of these action adventure type films. These all ultimately go back to the Indiana Jones recipe from the last 40 years or so. And this looks like it could be a fun entry in that. And I like Emily Blunt as well. So the two of them seem like they got some good chemistry.
At the end of this trailer, tell me you didn't expect The Rock to fight the Scorpion King, right? Like I expected him to come out as a scorpion, like the full-on thing, like ready to fight himself.
I was like, I can't believe they didn't throw in the obligatory shot of him with his shirt off, like in a lake somewhere, you know what I mean, where she sees him like bathing. I'm like, oh, where was that shot? I'm sure that's in there. For sure that is. Where she's like, me, I stumbled upon you bathing. It's one of these scenes. But, you know, it is what it is, and it looks serviceable enough, and I definitely intend to watch it. Okay, let's talk about Eternals. I almost called it Externals again, but the Eternals. Marvel's movie with Angelina Jolie, Camille Namajan, and all these other eclectic cast of actors, directed by Chloe Zhao. How do you say her name? Zone? The lady who just Zhao, who just won for Best Director for Nomadland. So of course she's already in the blockbuster machine. Just goes to show you that you don't really need any experience to make one of these fucking movies.
No,
all you have to do is block
even
the
tell
scene.
Anyone. I've seen Nomadland.
Do you think there's an auteur's touch in this? It's kind of sad when we go back to look at like all these award-winning directors immediately went into the Marvel machine.
I think these Marvel movies could go directly.
Can you imagine if this has happened in the 70s and 80s? I mean, imagine if Robert Altman was making one of these fucking movies. I guess he made Popeye, so I guess that's kind of a... But regardless.
They don't need a director.
I hated this trailer. I got to be honest, I don't give a shit about anything going on in this trailer. Do you?
Yeah, this looks like one of the first Marvel missteps to me. And maybe it'll be a one-off, but by God, it's proof that not every Marvel comic needs to be a movie. This looks so boring. And just at the same time, it's like, but it's Marvel. Look at us. It's Marvel. We're Marvel. There's superheroes and Angelina Jolie and there's doing superhero things. And you're just like, I don't even give a shit. I don't even know what this movie's about. I don't understand it.
It's just posturing. That's all that trailer is. It's a bunch of posturing in different locations. It's just like, we're gods and we help people. And then let's talk about the Avengers. It's like a joke at the end. Like, okay, what's the movie about? It's too flippant. This trailer is a little bit too flippant for me. It's cooler than too cool for school, and I just there's nothing that draws me in other than the fact that okay, you got these really remote locations in these four reaches of the Earth, and I just the whole thing was just like you said. Maybe it's the first misstep they make because there's nothing to grab onto in this trailer. Normally, there's a system to these or a formula of these trailers where they do the joke at the beginning and then the action sequence and then the whole system. There's nothing of this. This is some. It's the most cerebral or the dumbest. I can't tell, but it's definitely different than what Marvel's been putting out.
They'll have to show me more of what the actual movie's about. Yeah, I mean, this is just not a great look for anything. I don't even know what this. I don't get it. I guess I just don't understand. And I don't know. At least with a movie like Dune, you know it's going to be weird, and the trailer's weird, but you kind of sure it's going to be a boring story about spice and shit, right? But at least you know what it's going to be, right? I'm not even sure.
Nor why I should care. Because as far as I'm concerned, this next phase of Marvel is real uninteresting.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's going to be really weird, and it doesn't look all that. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is a solid lock.
The high point.
I'm ready for that, but for a lot of this other stuff, and they announce these new characters, these new movies and things, and I just think, meh. And then I see trailers or I see casting, and I think, meh. So I don't know.
Yeah, could be overreaching. It really could. They're going to have an Oscar category for best performance in a Marvel movie, because everyone will just have done a fucking Marvel movie every year. All right, let's move on and talk about Snake Eyes, the spinoff, the long gestating spinoff of the G.I. Joe franchise. This is with Henry Golding. Golding. I'm sorry, I was thinking of the other cat fella. Henry Golding of Crazy Rich Asians fame and Last Christmas. Man, that was an awful movie he was in. I like this cat. I think he's a good actor. I actually really liked him in solid. A Simple Favor.
I mean, I love the idea of a Snake Eyes movie.
This isn't it, though. This looks awful.
Yeah, it's I mean, Samara Weaving looks freaking awesome in this, and and as far as the Scarlet stuff goes, as far as like character, like Storm Shadow, Scarlet. We were talking about Snake Eyes. As far as G.I. Joe like movies go, this sounds like a dream.
It's not going to be. This is going to be Mortal Kombat.
I've seen the trailer.
We're
talking about it right now, man. The trailer's terrible.
It is. It's too busy. It's overstuffed, and it has nothing.
The music is
nothing to grab onto.
Is
it's generic. This whole
it's
thing
old. This trailer plays like a slick trailer from 2015, 2016, 2017. I was going to
say 2014. That's funny.
Maybe
you said
2014,
that, yeah.
Sure, but that's what I mean. Like it just plays like an older trailer when they knew they wanted things to be slick and everything, but it was still shitty. They couldn't hide it.
Yeah. This screams of shittiness. In fact, I'm surprised this isn't being dropped right on Paramount Plus or one of those, whoever has the rights to this right now.
Must be Hasbro, so who's that? Paramount, right?
Well, yeah, I think that they have a licensing or distribution agreement with Paramount. They did in the past, at least, with Battleship and Transformers, but this is not anything that's going to reinvigorate the franchise, judging by the looks of this, although... I did see this trailer on Wrath of Man, and I was with a younger person, and they were pretty excited about it. So maybe it is scoring with that generation. But then again, I was fairly surprised that they even knew who these characters were, because I didn't think that this property had really been kept alive all that well.
These are definitely the cooler...
the best characters.
I think these
in
are the
property.
cooler characters of the whole thing. So I'm not surprised that people would know who they are.
But what are they going to do better than Stephen Summers did with these characters in the first G.I. Joe?
I like the first one a lot. The second one was okay. It was fine.
It's okay.
But this just looks too. This looks, I guess, cookie cutter. I don't know. It just looks too like we're Hollywood. We know how to make a movie. Just give us your characters. Give us whatever you want. We'll put some I don't know what music is this, like Kanye or something. What are they playing this?
Is it Kanye? I hadn't seen this at the theater. It's something overbearing.
It's something that's older, but it's like kind of a hip hop rap type song. But it's just too much. It's
overdone.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. It's too slick, right? It's like they're trying to be like, we're so cool. Wait till you see Snake Eyes. It's so fucking cool. It's like I don't need to be told. Like you don't have to sell me on shit. Like just show it to me.
This trailer should have been playing on Spike TV.
Just show me what you've Yes, on Spike TV, right? This is right. Playing after Blade, Snake Eyes. It's like, yeah, this could
Seriously.
Sticky fingers and Snake Eyes. I don't know.
Advertising it during The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it's too much. Like we're relying too much, and again with the bass drops and shit. Oh my god.
You stop with that. That motif needs to go away in trailers. That's been played out since 2008.
That's why it feels like this. This is just an old trailer, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. Whoever cut this did not do a good job. There's no heat built up on this, and as much as I like the lead actor there, I don't think that he might. He looks like he might not be right for this material.
I like a lot of. I like that. I mean, Samara Weaving in this looks awesome as Scarlet. So yeah, I mean, I would watch this movie for that alone, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough to save this. It just doesn't look very good. Like you say, it actually looks a lot like the Mortal Kombat movie.
I was just going to get to that point.
Which is unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like, once again, the producer's notes. It looks like this is the movie making by committee, that everybody had to get their notes in, and that you're just appeasing as opposed to making something that's going to stand on its own. And Louis Tan, who played Cole Young, who I like a lot in Mortal Kombat, I think would have been a better choice as Snake Eyes. A little bit younger, a little bit more agile, can do the stunts, can do the martial arts bit, but doesn't have the name that Henry does, and so doesn't, apparently. But I don't think necessarily his audience is going to translate into this genre. You know what I mean? He's more known for romantic comedies and that kind of stuff, and dramas. I don't think that they're going to follow him blindly into a comic book film or a cartoon film, as it were. So really let down by that trailer. But I mean, overall, it was. I guess let's see what our review is here. So we're both negative on Without Remorse. We both give a positive review to Army of the Dead. We both are very enthusiastic of Wrath of Man. I'm inclined to recommend Cosmic Sin, but I can't do so I have to give it a moderate disapproval. And I think you're right there with me.
I think people know what they're getting into with Cosmic Sin. If you want to watch it or not, I think you know.
It's not going to be the worst Bruce Willis shitty B movie you see this year, that's for sure. We're both very negative on Mortal Kombat. In fact, the trailers, we think the Jungle Cruise and Tomorrow War look good, and Eternals and Snake Eyes both look like dog shit. And I'd like to see both those flop and just kind of change the whole way that those films are handled. I think Marvel needs some humbling too.
I watch them when they come on streaming.
Are you watching the Loki show? Let me ask you. Have you started watching Loki?
You know what? Did you watch the Captain America one?
I have not. I have not watched any of these, including The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian's pretty good. You would actually really like The Mandalorian because it's a Western.
All right, I'm already sold on it.
So I think you would really like The Mandalorian. But
everyone says I got to watch WandaVision. I got to watch Falcon. I got to watch Loki.
Don't watch WandaVision. WandaVision, it should be an hour and a half long movie. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, making it a damn thing, but it's pointless. Don't watch that. The Falcon and the whatever is the Falcon and the Snowman. That's
a good movie with Sean Penn. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is again pointless. It's like masturbation for them. It's just. It gets boring. I have 2 episodes left. I don't think I'm going to finish it.
Is it any better than Peggy Carter show or
you know what? There's more
Carter
action in it. There's more money in it. It's shot like a movie, so there's action in it that's really, really good and all that. But the story is like, man, by the time you get a couple episodes in, you're like, fuck, this should be like an hour and a half long movie, 2 hours tops. You've turned it into like a 6-hour epic. Like, it's too much. It's super boring. Then we get to the Loki stuff, and it's fucking good.
I keep hearing that.
I'm not joking. It's really fucking good. Like, watch Loki. It's fun. It's interesting. It's everything that Marvel was, post second phase. More third phase actually. It's more Ragnarok type stuff ish.
Good.
But a little bit backed off, right? But crazy like Guardians of the Galaxy type stuff. So a little more end of second phase, beginning of third phase type stuff, and it's good. The acting's great. Yeah, that's the one I would recommend if you're to watch any of them. That and The Mandalorian.
All right, I'm gonna have to take you up and watch those on that. And I started watching a couple Netflix shows, and I started watching Wu Assassins. Did you ever watch that? WU Assassins.
Right. No, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't watch it.
It's got Mark Dacascos in it. It's got so many martial arts legends in it, and supposedly it takes place in San Francisco, even though you can see it's clearly shot in Vancouver and not in the Bay Area. It's one of those. But regardless,
tell anyone,
I don't hate it. And also Into the Badlands. Did you ever watch that? It originated on AMC. It's now on Netflix.
I know what you're talking about on that one too. No, I never saw that one either.
It sounds like it's Mandalorian in that it's a futuristic deal, post-apocalyptic. Asian guy rides around with a samurai sword on a motorcycle, encountering all sorts of people. However, it's basically a Western in a lot of ways, with the Western Eastern flair in the fighting style. So I'm kind of getting into that as well. So I do need some new shows to watch, and I'll put Loki on the top of my list because all these Marvel shows, you just don't know where to jump in. You don't know if they're interconnected. It almost becomes like a club, and you don't know, do I got to watch this from the first?
They all kind of are interconnected, but it just doesn't matter. It's like hearing about like someone lose a life, And all the days, of course, are interconnected and they're a person. But do you really need to see them like the one day when they just sit around at home and do nothing? Probably not.
No.
Right?
No,
And so it kind of
I can skip that.
It's like, why? There's a point at which you're just turning out content just for the sake of doing it. And it's kind of like it's overwhelming to some degree. Like pick the good stuff, put that out, and forget the rest of the filler stuff.
What is your thoughts on the crowded theater experience in October and November of this year? Because we're going to have on my calendar, we got James Bond.
Right? We need a lot more. Yeah.
Have you seen the Rocky IV director's cut news? I mean, that's hitting theaters November 11th, a week before Top Gun hits theaters. I mean,
those won't play on many screens, so
I will fucking find that Rocky IV screening. Yeah. I don't care where I would go to find that thing in 4K on a big screen to go see that thing.
That'd be a good one.
I'll say
I really
this,
do want to see that.
I have not been a fan of the Stallone director's cuts. I think he actually does not help his own
I agree
films.
with that. I haven't liked his, and I own several. I own both the Expendables and Rambo, and then the director's cuts of both. And to be honest with you, I'm like, hey, if I accidentally lost these director cuts Blu-rays, I would not be too upset.
Well, he is the director of both those films, so the version we saw in the theater is a director's cut still.
That's fair enough, but not really. Like, he's forced to make some concessions and go through different hands and things versus the director's cut in which,
Yeah, I just thought that I heard that news and I just can't wait to see that on the screen, and to think that I'm going to see Rocky IV and Top Gun.
I think the Rocky IV thing sounds so interesting because it's going to be apparently is going to be a different movie.
That's what he says, but we'll see if
that's
there's a lot of promotion.
That's the promise. So come on, tell me that doesn't make you want to see it even more.
I'm dying to see this. Between that and Top Gun 2, I can't fucking tell you how excited I am to see this movie.
I'm really excited about it.
And James Bond,
after having gone back to theater. And I saw Wrath of Man in the $3 theater, man. I saw it second run, which made it even better.
Oh, yeah. That puts a little tinge on it. That's like seeing like a Cannon film on 42nd Street in the 80s.
So,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm ready for it. I think we need more movies out there right now. More things that I would willing to. I guess one of the bad things about the pandemic has been that a lot of movies went straight to streaming, which kind of showed you that a lot of the shit that they were about to dump in theaters didn't belong in theaters to begin with.
Yep.
So screw all that noise. Like, keep dumping those things to streaming. That keeps me busy. But release the good ones in the theaters, please. Still.
Yeah, something like Chaos Walking didn't need a theatrical experience.
No, and I've got that. I'm watching that here pretty.
And I got Voyagers, and I want to see.
I want that one too.
Yeah,
that one's nice.
There you go. So there are things to catch up on, and we will be talking in the next episode about a couple Liam Neeson films that I got a chance to catch up with that I know you've seen. So we'll be talking about that on the next show. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode. We want to thank you guys for joining us on episode 372. We'll be back with you very soon to talk about a couple of Liam Neeson films and a lot more trailers for upcoming hits. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to MovieMavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!